What's the difference between your CAD model and the actual part that gets machined? Hi guys, my name is Mike Aubrey. I'm one of the technology evangelists on the Autodesk Fusion 360 team, and this tip video is going to talk about how we can use the Fusion 360's CAM environment and our rendering environment to take a look at what the actual machine part is going to look like based on the machining choices we make within our CAM environment. So this tip video starts off in the CAM environment. If you aren't familiar already with the CAM environment, go check out some of our tutorials. Assuming you are, the way this tip works is that if you start off by simulating a result, so you turn on your stock, you run it all the way to the end, this produces a model that you can actually take and push out to your rendering environment. Actually, in the case of this night, there's a couple of different stages that are going to impact what it's going to look like. I actually have to create this through a series of turns. I don't have a lathe. So what I do here is if you click and select all of the stages at once and simulate, if you then click and go to the end of your machine path, you can actually see the end result of what it's going to look like when it's machined, and then you can go right click and say save stock. And that is going to be a file that you can then go back into the Fusion modeling environment and go either into the sculpting environment or the direct modeling environment. And then under the insert options, there's an option to insert mesh. This is the model that you're going to be using to create your renderings from. Go ahead and import it and say OK. And the next thing to do is apply the appearances of the materials that you're going to be manufacturing. It's just a right click, go to your appearances, and you can choose from a whole set of different materials. This is a wooden chess piece, so I'll be making this out of white maple for the white pieces and then walnut for the dark. Just drag and drop them in. And then the next thing to do is you can actually get a really good understanding how the wood looks even before you go into the rendering environment. If you go into your visual styles and change it from showing the visual edges, which is the environment that I usually use, if you just go to shaded, you can get a much better understanding because it turns off all that high tessellation you see in high accuracy STLs. The next thing to do is you can, if you right click and go to texture map controls, you can go and adjust where the wood grains are. So if you want to make that wood more look like the actual cut of wood that you're working from, that's something that we support. It looks really good. And then the next thing to do is just go into your rendering environment and let's take a look at what happens. So you can see at the top here, it's showing that maybe I need to increase my step over a little bit on the top. And on the sides, you can see kind of some of the ridging effects that come as a result of the more spiral. And on the left here, we're looking at what's the ideal model that I created my CAM paths from, and on the right is what it's saying it can do. And here's the final part that I did, and I did a little bit of gentle sanding on the top, so you can't see as much as the ridges on the top there. And that's a really good example of how you can go from one CAD part to a solid part. Don't just limit yourself to wooden parts. Obviously, ABS, jade, foam, wax, aluminum, all those look equally good, and depending on what your goals are for your part. So I hope that was useful for you, whether you're a manufacturing engineer looking for something coming off the line, or if you're an industrial designer looking to better describe what the texture is going to be when you're done to a client. There's a lot of different people that can benefit from this workflow, and I hope it's useful for you. Take care.